Hey everybody, thanks for joining us.
Great. Howdy.
Welcome.
We're, this is the panel on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You guys may not know this, but Palladium Books was the very first Ninja Turtle licensee back in 1985. It was just kind of crazy. I'm a comic book guy, so I knew Turtles was coming out. I was waiting for things, I kept trying to get issue 1, I couldn't get issue 1, I finally got issue 2. I read it and thought, it's just crazy. It's like it was destiny that we would get the license. Because I read the second issue and I tell my wife, wow, this is really great. If they would let us create any kind of mutant animal, just make a great role-playing game. Yes. Like 5 minutes later, some guy calls me and goes, hi, have you read a Ninja Turtle comic book? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, I think it'd make a great source book for Heroes Unlimited. And I'm like, I think it'd make a great game by itself. We chit-chatted about it, and I'm like, and the fact that this stranger, or would-be author, role-playing game designer, the fact that, he called and had the same idea or similar idea, I'm like, yeah, this is something. And I said, I'm willing to give you a shot at writing it, but we got to track down Eastman and Laird first. And he's like, I already have. Here's the number. So I called him up, and we hit it off, and the rest is history.
Meant to be.
It was. So that was pretty awesome. And then, in fact, Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, they're great guys. And they trusted me so much. They're like, gee, you seem like a good guy. Why don't you write up the contract? I saw that. And so I wrote up the contract. And, obviously there was nothing odious in it. Although it was funny, years later when they got an actual agent, he reads the contract, he's like, oh my God, this guy has rights to do the role-playing games in perpetuity. And they're like, I don't think that's what he meant to do. And he made them scared to kind of call us, but I forget it was Peter, I think, who called me. He's like, when you wrote that contract, you didn't mean to have it for up for, did you? And I'm like, no, of course not. He's like, oh, thank goodness. We didn't think so. And would you mind signing a new contract? And I'm like, absolutely. So we did, and we had the Ninja Turtle license for like 15 or 18 years, which is pretty unprecedented. And for us, what happened is when the Turtle movies came out, the cartoons, and especially the toys, so our main audience back in the day was like 12 to 30. And the guys who were in high school and college were like, I'm not playing this kidified game, because they kind of went from, this cool cutting edge, gritty black and white comic book.
Lots of blood and violence.
To Mickey Mouse, right? Cowabunga, dude, where's my pizza? And that's awesome, and it did great with it, and the cartoons are wonderful, but what I call kidified the Turtles, and there was no self-respecting high schooler was going to be playing Mickey Mouse or the Ninja Turtles.
I did.
So,
We all did.
A few. So we thought, we kind of played it out and we'll let it go. And I wish I hadn't, because, we had to go back and get it from Paramount years later, which is what these are. And, I kind of let you take it away with the newer stuff.
Yeah, so I guess my turtle story is interesting because when I was a kid, I got into Battletech and wargaming. And then I played some Dungeons and Dragons, the red box set with my buddies, on the middle school gym floor kind of thing. And we played some D6 Star Wars, but I didn't really get it. The game systems didn't feel intuitive to me. I love Star Wars, and I thought medieval fantasy stuff was cool, but one of my buddies, he found out, because I loved the cartoons when I was a kid, and so I came in a few years late. I guess that's why I'm so young compared to him. But, I wasn't, that 12 to 30, I was 11, right? So I love the comics. My dad's best friend gave me the graphic novels, and I was like, whoa, this is violent, and there's blood, and Shredder dies, and it was great. And And of course, he comes back. But yeah, so I love the comics, and one of my buddies was like, "Hey, I've got this game, but it's full of all that art you like by those artists." And I was like, "Oh, I'll trade you some of my BattleTech stuff for that, right?" So we horse traded it, and I started reading. I was like, "Oh, it's one of those role-playing games like my buddies have, but it makes sense to me." And so then I got Ninjas and Super Spies, and I got Heroes Unlimited, and I ran Turtles Go Hollywood with my cousins while they were visiting for Christmas and all that kind of stuff. And I ended up just, lifelong Palladium Books fan. Once I got into Rifts, it was kind of over that, and then Macross too. So as many are familiar. Yeah, so when I went through life, I enlisted in the Air Force, and afterwards I went back to school to study design and production for games, and also visual design. And so I got some chance to write on the Rifts for Savage Worlds books by Pinnacle, and that's how I met Kevin, and we started talking. And then a couple years later, I was going to start my own company, and he asked me instead, he's like, "Hey Sean, why don't you come join me at Palladium instead?" And my business partner, and I was like, "What?" But the first thing we talked about was, so what about Ninja Turtles? What's the status of that? So we buy our time. We're trying to make real careful steps in the direction of things we want to do. And so did Drifter 85, Time Robotics, and then the time came and it was like, let's go talk to Paramount. Let's reach out to them and track them down, which was a trick because a bunch of the executives had switched out after I think the Paramount had bought Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
And but it was cool. We finally had a good conversation with them. It only took 9 months to negotiate a contract. But we got the rights to do the books, and they even let us do some stuff that they weren't familiar with, like the miniatures and other things. So some of the stuff is Kickstarter exclusive, but it was really cool just to be able to do that kind of thing. And so we're really excited to bring back all the original role-playing game, all 5 of the source books, collecting the 2 hardcovers. One of the things that Kevin and I ran into very early on was fans would ask us, "Well, are you going to do all 4 of the turtles with the red bandanas?"
Yeah.
And we'd already talked to Paramount and decided they really want us to do the 4-color, and I think it's the right move. But it was like, man, we're missing out on that old school feel. So Jeff, one of the executives, his name's in the book, so you can see it on the title page. But he suggested, well, what about if you did a black, white, and red edition? And we realized this is the way that we can thread that needle and have something else cool that harkens back to the originals. So, and later on, I don't know if you want to go on with Jeremy Colwell, they showed him the black, white, and red stuff.
Well, yeah, but first I
don't know, I'm still getting ahead of things,
let me
but-
just say, I apologize to you guys because, we're excited about the Turtles and I kind of just jumped into it and I didn't introduce ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
So now some of you may be sitting there going, who the hell are these guys?
Everyone knows him.
I'm Kevin Siembieda. I'm the founder of Palladium Books. I wrote and designed probably 90% of our game products. This is Jeremy Colantonio, our new operations manager.
He's doing a great job.
He's been kind of working with us behind the scenes for about a year, and he just in June he came to join us in Michigan. And then this is Sean Owen Roberson. He's my business partner and creative director. And as Sean was saying, when I licensed Rifts to Pinnacle, they were looking for good writers. And Sean Patrick Fannin had met Sean at a convention and introduced him to Shane, who runs Pinnacle. And they liked what he could do, they liked him, and it's funny because I was like, yeah, just first write this short thing and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I wrote like a 1,000-word adventure.
And
I got paid for it.
He's like a line manager, and and then we hit it off. But anyways, I just want to make sure you guys knew who the heck we were and what we're talking about. So yeah, take it away.
Yeah. So, anyways, it was for me, it's been a big roller coaster of fun. Just getting to work on Rifts I was like, this is as good as it's going to get. And now I get to work on stuff like this at Palladium with Kevin as a business partner. And it's weird because when you write as a contract writer, this is just an aside, everything you do is work for hire, right? The person you're writing that's paying you, they own everything, right? So I've worked, and if you want to make a good impression, you bust your ass, you do the best you can. So I worked real hard on the Riffs for Savage World stuff, and it's all canon Riffs material. We worked really closely together to make sure that, and we still do with the new guys working on the product line, like Aaron Burkett. But it was crazy because then Kevin asked me to join him as his business partner. Now I own it, and I'm the licensor. I own my own work for hire reports. It's really weird.
Well, it was funny, so, again, it's just one of these situations where Sean and I just hit it off, and, we would talk about the stuff for Pinnacle, and then we'd end up talking for an hour or three about other stuff, movies and comic books and game design, and every time I hung up the phone, I'm thinking, this is the guy to take over the company. Let's face it, even though I look young and dashing, I'm an old fart, I'll be 70 next year. And I want to have someone who would take over the company, but follow the legacy of the company to make sure it stayed the way you guys know and love it.
Not just sell the highest bidder corporation.
I've worked with lots of different people, and it's crazy. Like here's a great example of just craziness. So there was a comic book company, not one of the major ones, but they contacted me and said, we want to do riffs. I got a writer who's just dying. He's a huge riff fan. He's dying to do this. Can we work out a deal? And I'm like, well, send me a proposal and an outline of what you guys have in mind. And sure, we'll consider it. We can talk about this. And it's like, okay, so it's riffs. 300 years in the future. And I'm like, well, what? Right there. It's like, wait, what? 300 years from the current timeline? So there's no Emperor Prosek, there's no Aaron Tar, is there even a coalition of states? It's like, no, this is just, hey, I really like riffs, but I want to do my own version. And, we got the outline, and that's exactly what it was, and it's like, yikes. So, Sean, on the other hand, was like, he knew and loves riffs as much as I do, and he really wanted to build on what was there, which is what we do even when we do new books. I look at what I've done before, and I'm like, how can I build on this? How can I make this more exciting? So Sean was the guy, and so we had this, it was hilarious because we had like a 3-hour conversation.
Yeah, I incorporated my own company. I was getting advice from him on, do you think this would be a good line of role-playing game books? I want to do this theme and this and this.
Yeah, do you think I can pull it off? And I'm like, absolutely, Sean, you're super talented. You can do this. And the whole time I'm thinking, if you're going to ask him to join the company, it's got to be now. And I just kind of love it. We're about to hang up, and I'm like, Sean, I hate to throw a monkey wrench into your plans, but I don't really have an heir. My kids aren't interested in the company. Would you like to join me and become my 50-50 partner and eventually take over the company? And he's like, what? Yeah! And I'm like, well, think about it. He's like, yeah!
Pretty much an accurate portrayal. I couldn't sleep for 2 days. I like called my parents, and I called my best friend and my other, my gaming buddies from middle school, and they're like, "Are you sure that's what he meant?" But yeah, I called him back 36 hours later. I still hadn't slept, and I'm like, hey, Kev, just want to make sure I understand this. But the cool thing is yeah, I really do care about the stories. And, whenever I, or now the guys that we're working with on Riffs for Savage Worlds, we make sure that we take the original story and we interleave new material, right? If you don't just come up with something out of the blue that doesn't fit, it needs to grow out of what's already there. Or, even if it is something pretty unique, it needs to fit and be unique within the setting of Riffs. And it doesn't matter if it's Riffs, it could be anything, right?
Well, you see, exactly. So you'll see that same love, that same reverence for the Ninja Turtles, the original comic books, the original game,
Yep.
what Eric Woodgett crafted in these books, because we're huge fans. I think that's what people don't really realize until they meet us, is that we're just big fanboy geeks ourselves. We love this stuff as much as you guys do, and which is an advantage because we know what the fans want, because we're the fans, and we know what we want, and that what you want, and we want to give it to you, and
Yeah.
we do, and you'll see that. And we got these books at our booth. You can look at them here too. But
Yeah.
you know, we got, and these are the actual books.
These are the mass printing books. They're not like, because it's,
Pre-press
you know,
samples.
pre-press samples use a different printing process most of the time. So it's not going to be exactly like what you're going to get in the mass market. But these are the books from the printer. You know, so right now they're printing over 30,000 books. They print the guts, then they sew them together so that your stuff doesn't come unbound. It can last for decades, and then they put the hardcover on it. So, and sometimes it happens in different facilities because each is specialized process.
Yeah.
So that's just a lot of stuff. There's a lot of other little details that we've been dialing in. You know, we didn't write an update saying, hey, we got some samples for the Game Master screen and we decided it needs different glue. You know, so, but whenever we have production updates, we try and share them. We are waiting with bated breath to know when this stuff is going to get loaded into crates and, you know, shipping containers and off to the Pacific Ocean. Yeah, yeah, so but the books you see, the dice, the Game Master screen, this is the stuff that's going to be delivered in sometime, hopefully very shortly, to all our fans and then our distributors. Yeah, so we're really excited about these books. One of the things that I think we under-promised and over-delivered on this is this book is actually, what is it, 16 extra pages, I believe?
Yes.
Or is it 18? It's got extra pages. It's like half a signature. Yeah. And then the other one's the size we announced, because there's the core book with it has Turtles Go Hollywood and Truckin' Turtles, and then the other book has Transdimensional TMNT Adventures and what is it? TMNT Guide to the Universe. But all the rules, the terminology is updated. So
It's all new layout.
all new
it's super
layout.
Clean and clear and
Yeah.
easy. He grabbed different rules from different books and added them so that certain sections would be complete.
Yeah. So like for instance, when you get to
Kick-ass job.
the vehicle section in this book, for instance, in the original books, it just had space and aircraft for the TMNT Guide to the Universe. But I added in custom land vehicles, custom watercraft. It has comprehensive vehicle rules for land vehicles, watercraft, and then aerospace, air and spacecraft. Those are highly updated from, for instance, adapted from what he did for Heroes Unlimited second edition for aircraft combat rules. So what you're getting here is it's actually almost everything that you need to play any Palladium game, updated with a lot of modern terminology, but it's the same game.
And
so
clarifications.
lots of
clarifications. There's what?
Combat
Some
examples.
new mutant animals.
Oh, we got like 12 new mutant animals. Because we promised, I think, 6 or 8 in the
Yeah, I think it
campaign.
was 6.
And then, yeah, I couldn't help it. I had some more. All the animals have been, mutant animals have been updated. A lot of them have new abilities that, you know, you want the animal to have. I did a design pass on the bio-E that each animal has, depending on the attribute bonuses it has. So a lot of that's been adjusted and updated. The weasel ferret doesn't, you know, the metabolism doesn't give 2 extra actions, just 1 extra action. You know, a lot of little things like that we had the chance to update. You can actually build the Ninja Turtles using the Pond Turtles. We also added alligator snapping turtle to the mix. It's got new illustrations by Kevin Siembieda, new illustrations by Kevin Eastman, including Karai from the original comics. And we have a bonus extra character that we didn't announce. The second book, we have the stats for Fugitoid. He appeared in the book, but you didn't have the stats. So there's a lot, and that actually took some wrangling. So it's a different IP. Paramount also owns it. But we were able to negotiate with them to make sure that could be put in books too. And I think that makes Peter Laird happy, so.
Yeah.
But it's been a fantastic process. It's been cool. I got to meet Kevin Eastman in a video call. He said he thought this was some of the best color work he'd ever seen on the Turtles, which was a great compliment.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. So it's nice, because big companies, a lot of times a big company, when they acquire an intellectual property, it's all about the money. They don't care about the creators or anything else. And Paramount's been very refreshing on that, in that regard, because they really care about the legacy of the Ninja Turtles. And so one of the things we kept running into with them is, well, I'm not sure if that, maintains the integrity of the original material.
It's the art, especially, because the way
Yeah.
we did the colors, it's very painterly. The old turtle art has, lines for shading because it was black and white. And then we're working with Mike Majestic, who's done a lot of stuff for Palladium. And we had him painting over the shadow lines.
Because we want,
with a darker,
Palladium's-
like say a darker green.
Palladium's covers and stuff are usually more painterly.
Right.
So yeah, we wanted.
And that was our approach with these books is, we want every piece of art to have the same treatment as cover art.
Yeah.
And we cut it all out.
And so it was funny, so they look at it, and we already paid out several $1,000s to the colorist, because we're waiting forever to hammer out this contract. And they said, you shouldn't hire anybody until the deal's done. And I knew if we waited, it would take forever to color the interior art. So I had Mike started, and I said, look, Mike, if the deal falls through, which I don't think it will, but if it falls through, we'll pay you regardless.
Yep.
So we had them painted away, and we had all this art done. And Paramount's like, well, I don't know. I don't know if it departs from the original stuff. And we're like,
How will the original creators feel about
Right.
this color work, right?
So we have
Which is a
this-
legitimate concern.
And it's cool. I mean, on one hand, we're like, come on, I know Kev, I worked with him for only like 20 years. I know he's gonna love this, but it's like, do you? And I'm like, okay.
So then we got a video call with them.
Right. And Sean starts sharing all these, repainted images. And they're a little nervous, even though I'm completely sure that he's gonna love it, but it's like, you never know. And we're like, so Kev, what do you think of the colors? And he's like, are you kidding me? I think these might be the best colors I've ever seen in our work. And we're like, yeah.
So and it's funny because Jeff was in the call.
Yes.
And it's funny, we were like, you think, oh, you're an exec at Paramount. You approved the Last Ronin and all these other things that they've been working on for the Turtles comics. And we're setting up for the meetings like, hey, would you mind, if I joined your meeting with Kevin Eastman? We're like, sure, Jeff. And he's like, yeah, I've never talked to him on video before. I've never met him in person. And so we're like, oh. And so, yeah, I'm sitting there, we get these compliments, and then I said, and Jeff was just sitting there.
Well, Jeff's a great guy.
He's a great guy.
And he's a fanboy. He actually
Super fan.
owned the original
RPG.
Turtle role-playing game. He's just a big fan, great guy.
Like collected in a, like mint condition sleeve and all this stuff. So no, I mean, he's a true fan.
And Kevin Eastman named the meeting of the Kevins.
Yeah. So,
And I had kind of lost touch with Kev after like the initial 20 years. And so I had seen him at a convention or two over like the last 15 years, but we had kind of lost touch with each other. And so he was excited to talk to me, I was excited to talk to him. And Jeff's like, well, go ahead.
yeah, well, so it's funny because I get in there and it's obvious that Kevin Eastman and Kevin Siembieda are like really good friends that are just excited to chat and catch up, and they're like retelling the story of how they met from both directions.
Yeah.
It was really funny. Kevin Eastman's perception of, getting in contact with Kevin Siembieda and then meeting their licensing agent, Mark Friedman, which was Kevin's licensing agent.
Yeah, the Turtles, as you know them, bizarrely enough, might never have come to be, because I happen to be the guy who introduced Kevin and Peter to the licensing agent who made the cartoons, made the movie,
And the toys,
got the
Playmate
toys and the
toys.
Playmate. And that was kind of wild because, and it wasn't just like, hey, meet this guy, and oh yeah, hey, this works out great. So what happened was I was trying to get a different license that Mark Friedman at Surge Licensing was managing. And he wanted to see samples of our books, so I sent him stuff. He goes, no, I want to see samples of other licenses that you've done. And I'm like, oh, because I only had two at the time, and one was not Robotech, one was Justice Machine, a comic book property, and the Ninja Turtles. And both are independent comic books. And I'm like, I don't know if he even knows what these are, and he didn't. But anyway, I send them to him, and he's like, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Does that name make you smile? And I'm like, what? And he's like, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Every time I say it, I smile. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, these are really interesting. And I tell about the guys and the comic book and that it's selling gangbusters and that he can't keep issue number 1 in stock and it's just taken off. You know, in fact, in my opinion, it was TMNT that really started the whole black and white independent comic book launch. There were some other major titles like, you know, Usagi Yojimbo and some other stuff, but you know, Turtles was really the big thing that captured everyone's imagination. And obviously it captured Mark Friedman's imagination. And so we end up talking about this other license and be like, we talked 5 minutes about it. It's like, yeah. Don't worry, Ken, we'll work that out. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And, you know, and so we start talking about how, do you think little kids would like this? And I'm like, my like 9 and 7-year-old love it, you know, and they're reading the hardcore black and white comics, and they love it, right? And he's like, do you think it would, if I made these into toys, you think there's a market for them? I'm like, absolutely, there's toys. And they were getting into deep, right? He's like, well, I know this, I'm good friends with the president of this startup toy company called Playmate Toys, you know, and I think I could get them interested in this. We start talking about, you know, sales numbers, which I happen to know because Kevin, like I said, Kevin and Peter are friends of mine, and we talk like every week or two. And so I know what the sales numbers are, I know what's going on, I know what their plans are. So I'm sharing all this in Mark, and at some point I'm just, because he's like, I think we can make a cartoon, you know, you need cartoons these days to launch a toy line and blah, blah, blah. And I'm feeling kind of uncomfortable because it's like, I love the Ninja Turtles. And I'm like, Mark, you're a licensing agent. You know I don't own the Turtles, right? And he's like, yeah. And I go like, these ideas sound great. You should talk to Kevin and Peter. And this is before the internet and stuff, right? So it's not like, let me make an email introduction. Mm-hmm. He goes, well, would you pass along my number, tell him what I have in mind, and ask him to call me. So I called Garage Studio, and it kind of depended on who was there, whether it was Kevin or Pete that I talked to. I got Peter, and he's sort of the older, wiser, more mature. Because when they started it, Kevin Eastman was like 24, and Peter Laird was like 30 or 32.
Yeah.
And so I tell Peter what's going on, and he goes, I don't know, Kev. Sounds too good to be true. We'll pass. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, Pete. I said, you know, you guys hold all the cards. Don't be pressured by this opportunity. Hear what the guy has to say. And if you like it, go with it. And if you don't like it, you know, tell them to take a hike. You know, it's your IP. You can do whatever you want with it. And he's like, oh yeah, that's good advice. We'll give him a call. And it was fun for us because we got to hear that actual meeting. Because I had heard Mark Friedman's version.
No, like Kevin Eastman told us how the meeting went. Because Mark Friedman, he rented a suit.
Yeah.
And then he's like, this guy in a suit came in. And they were painting it. And so he comes in and he's like, so where's the guys that created the Ninja Turtles? And they're the guys that are painting and sweaty are like, oh, that's us. So, no, it was a fun conversation, and we had a great time chatting, and Kevin Eastman's awesome. If you like Kevin Siembieda, you like Kevin Eastman. We had a really great conversation. We're talking about everything. Jeff was just sitting there. He was on mute. He's just sitting there on mute. And I'm like, Jeff, did you want to say anything? He's like, no, my heart is full. Just such a great guy. And Jeff is the one that suggested, hey, why don't you guys, what about doing a black, white, and red edition?
Yeah.
And so, you know, and the thing is, when Kevin Eastman and then Peter Laird heard about everything through the grapevine about us negotiating to try and bring back the Turtles role-playing game, and apparently because he's pretty much retired, right? And so Peter Laird also, we heard, was very interested in being involved. And so it was just a fantastic thing to have them excited to be a part of the project, and then a whole bunch of other Turtles comic artists like Sophie Campbell and Freddie Williams. Fred and Kevin gave Freddie Williams his first job, right?
Yeah.
As an artist, and then he broke into comics, and we can no longer afford it. Except for covers, you know. Freddie's great, and so yeah, it was really cool to have everyone that loved the Turtles, and a lot of them we found, like Sophie Campbell, and she wrote and did the art for a whole bunch, like over 150, 200 IDW comics.
Yeah.
There was a whole bunch of them.
At least 150 of this one run, and then she might have written some other stuff.
Yeah,
I wasn't following it all at the time, so.
But we found out, like me, she has like the same origin story. Like she found the Turtles, through the role-playing game, and just really got into it. And she runs Heroes Unlimited every weekend with her friends. And so we're like, oh, you're a Palladium fan. This is cool. So it's been really fun to work with all these great creatives. Ciro Miele, who did the 2012 animated series, he played the original role-playing game. Well, he didn't play it. He just built like 80 characters because his friends didn't want to play a role-playing game. But he built all these characters, and so when you see his tribute art in the book, it's got like his own homegrown characters. Also, he couldn't use the Terror Bears, which he knew from the role-playing game when he did the animated series. Apparently, Paramount or Nickelodeon didn't even want, just were like, don't talk to the guys from Palladium. They own those characters from the original RPG. We don't. So don't talk to them. You just have to create new characters. So he created the Dream Beavers. The Terror Bears. And so, but when he did his art for this, it was really cool. We talked to him on the phone, and we were talking for like what we said we could. They said we could have like a 15-minute call with him because he's a writer director.
It took like 3 months to even have the conversation.
Yeah, and it was like he's got 15 minutes, and we get on there, and these guys, he and Kevin start talking about like toys, and we're talking about movies. We're talking movies and musicians, toys, and horror. And we were having a great conversation. 45 minutes later, he's like, "So what did you guys need?" We're like, "Oh, well, we're bringing back the role-playing game." Then he tells us how he loved it and made like all these characters, and they're still beloved to him. And he was so excited about it. And we said, "Look, we know you're really busy. If we could get a sketch from you, we'll have top comic book guys do the inks and the color work." And he said, "No, that's not acceptable. I'm going to do 2 pieces of art, and I'm going to do
everything,
every step, including the color work." So it was pretty fantastic to see what that legacy. It means a lot to me. I know it means a lot to the fans because it's like one of the. Even before I was working with Palladium, or I worked with Palladium, but not for Palladium, as a licensor, an author on Risk for Savage Worlds. I'm working on Risk, and people will come up and be like, "Hey, are you going to bring back the Ninja Turtles?" And I'm like, I have nothing to do with the Ninja Turtles, But it was just that association with Palladium, right? And it's such a beloved game. So, because I was like, it's a great idea. So we actually got to make it happen and work with all these fantastic colorists and artists, and that's kind of how these books got so much larger. As we originally had planned, I think it was 12 or 14 pinup art pieces
between the 2 books,
full page pinups that we had announced on the Kickstarter, and we ended up with over twice as many, I think 26.
Yeah, it's more
something
like 30,
like that. Yeah, it's closer to 30.
33, 32.
I forget.
Like 15 in one and 17 in dollar or
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But it was like all these people coming out of the woodwork and all the original Raj Studio.
Yeah, obviously you know Steve
and
Levine and
Dan Berger
Jim Lawson. It's like, no, you can't do it. And it's like, no, they're famous for the Raj Studio stuff. Eric Talbot did an amazing piece.
We have a piece by Larry Elmore, fantasy art, and with colors by Luis Antonio Delgado, and Luis did the colors for The Last Ronin, so he's not too shabby. Some original Kevin Siembieda's in there.
Yes.
First time he ever drew the turtles.
Yeah, he did publish them forever. I know Kevin Pete never drew a damn turtle. And I got 2 tribute pieces with the Ninja Turtles, one in each book.
I even drew some turtle stuff. So, I just did the pencils. Mike Majestic did the lines and the color. And we joked around because I'm like, Kevin's like, Sean, you're not bad. You're not a bad artist. I said, Mike Majestic's really good. But he took my sketch and made it look beautiful with bokeh background effect to the New York City lighting and all this stuff, which was my idea, but he did it great. We've got Ramon Perez. You may have heard of that guy. Stephen Cummings, some just fantastic comic book artists did tributes for these books. So if you're a fan of the artists and the various Palladium books, you'll be happy when you read through the names on a lot of the tribute art. We put a lot of elbow grease into these books. It was a lot of work. a lot of work, but we hope that you guys really enjoy it. Every paragraph, every page, every paragraph, I carefully edited and updated.
And laid out.
And did the layout, remaster work, which was also difficult. It was funny thing, we had some good, so when they do the printing in old school way, you end up with these plates, these CMYK plates. So we had the plates for some of the negatives and the plates for some of the various cover art, like Truck and Turtles.
Oh, yeah.
And TMNT Adventures and all this stuff. We got in contact with Kevin Long, and I think that's how. No, we already had a really good scan from him of trans-dimensional TMNT cover, but I contacted him because we did not have a good scan. The plates are gone. We didn't have a good scan of the Turtles Go Hollywood cover art, and of course that's like my favorite adventure because I played it with my family, and so with that one. He was like, sorry, I don't have any good scans of it. And so I took it, we went to, the company that did the sculpts for the miniatures is ttrpg Gaming. And they're really quality folks, really great people. You may have seen them in like the live stream we did at the end of the TMNT campaign. But they took a scan of the cover, which you can see all the printer dots if you look real close, right? So this is super high resolution scan. They had artists that are just wizards of Photoshop. They were able to use like the different Gaussian blur and stuff like that to reconstitute the cover, but in high definition. And then I went in and did some more color correction and spot correction and sent it to, I emailed Kevin Long, I was like, hey, just so you know, just so that you have this for your files, here's the high resolution image that we have. He was like, wow, it looks like the day I painted it with the gauche paints. He was super stoked, and also he wrote a tribute for this. He didn't have time to do a piece of tribute art. He works for Raven Software now. He's working, I think, Call of Duty Warzone as an art director.
He says working, he's the art director.
Yeah, so I mean, he's doing really great. So he didn't have time to do a pin-up piece, but he wrote a really great tribute in the books, in this book, I believe. It's just really cool, and I've never met him, and he's always one of if you like Riffs, how can he not be one of your favorite artists, right? And so getting to interact with him was fantastic. So it's just been a kind of a lot of hard work, but also it feels like a victory lap every once in a while. I got to meet this artist, I got to work with this guy, I got to communicate with this person. I got to meet Kevin Eastman in person last year at Grand State Comic Con, and he is a really fun guy, and I have my original TMNT and Other Strangeness book, and it's all beat to heck. And so I was always kind of like, oh, it is my old beat up copy of TMNT, but he went and drew Turtle and signed it. And then I went around, I was like, wow, that looks really great. So then I went to Freddie Williams and all the Mirage guys, and they all drew their own Turtles. And so now my book looks really cool. No, it's neat. It's fun just to be able to meet people and rub elbows and work with these are all like fantastically talented people. Yeah. So everything we do with these books is true to the original. You've got updated gear. You've got twice as many vehicles in this book. You've got full vehicle, custom vehicle, and vehicle combat rules. So and then the original stuff that Eric Widget did. And it's funny, you read something, it's different than when you are going through and editing it as a designer. And man, what he did with time travel is genius. But we did our best to give you easy to use tables because it is a mathematical number on you. I remember Jeff was proofreading everything. He's like, I hope you got the math right, because I can't. If you read the COIL rules for time travel and stuff like that, it's fantastic. So, but no, it was just great working on these books and updating things. And there was a lot of places where we know more through like paleontology and archaeology and stuff now, right? So you've got a little more updated information on hominids and random encounters. It should all fit a lot of the stuff that we know now about those time periods and those creatures. Yeah, and then the adventure material is timeless. It's just great stuff. So we hope everybody enjoys it. We've had a lot of fun designing stuff that we also want to bring to our other game lines, including this kind of proof of concept of this new Game Master screen. And if you could flip that around, Jerry, so people can see. And this is something that you'll be able to get now and on into the future. But if you look there, you can actually easily fold out and replace what's in there. A lot of Game Master screens, it's adhesive or attached on both sides, and you can barely fit something in there. These should be really easy to swap in and out. And we've got, I think, pretty useful Game Master information with all of the updated combat rules and notes on skill checks and experience levels. And also, this book includes very concrete movement rules. So movement is an action, and then how far you can move, what kind of skill checks you might need to make. So it's just stuff that, like, that's the way Kevin runs it. But we found out, oh, hey, this isn't apparent to some players. So there's a lot of stuff like that that's clarified, whether it's from, oh yeah, the Game Master can assign bonuses or penalties to skill checks. Some people are like, well, that's not exactly what it says. And it's like, well, that's how Kevin and I run it, so that's how we're gonna make sure it's in the book and clear now for everybody. So there's a lot of cool notes like that, but we've tried to really succinct 1 to 2 page spreads so it's easy to move through and find your way through the rules. And then we also have these dice, the Mutant Green dice.
They're awesome.
And we have those also at the booth. If you want to come take a look.
You gotta roll them to see how, to get the full effect.
It's pretty cool.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm not a dice guy. When the samples came in, I'm like, this is amazing. I just started rolling the dice for like 15 minutes.
We're at booth 1515. So right next to where Catalyst is.
Yeah, we're right by Catalyst.
Yeah.
Not far from Upper Deck.
Yeah.
Just look at the giant Leonardo. Yeah.
Yeah, then we have the giant Leonardo.
Yeah.
You know, once you see that, you're really close.
Real quick, some of you guys came in a little late. I do need your tickets, and then we're gonna go and start the Q&A session.
Yeah, we'll do a quick Q&A.
Yeah, we got about 10 minutes left.
Yep. So.
And so if you've got questions, yeah.
Yeah, so was there anything, like rule changes you wanted to make, but were like, nah, I can't go that far, or was it easy to prove?
No, I think we got everything in there we want. I mean, you know, sometimes you're tempted to do something crazy, but I mean, you know, the thing with this is we wanted it to make, it's the same game. It's just explained differently, I guess is the way I would put it.
And organized, some organization.
Yeah, the organization is very,
Makes more sense.
and condensed, so you won't see, you know, like for instance, before the archery rules were under the bow and arrow in the equipment section. That's over in the skills section and weapon proficiency section. We have comprehensive shields in this book, ancient and modern, like riot shields and stuff like that, ballistic shields, as well as body armor. So it should be like everything you need to play Turtles that you could even try. But yeah, there's nothing that we didn't get to play.
And our goal was we didn't want to give you a new game because you loved the old game. So we wanted to give you the old game improved, clarified, better organization, better layout, and that kind of thing.
As easy to play as ever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything you wish you could have changed, or going too far?
I don't think so. I mean, you know, there's all kinds of stuff. I love game design. If anyone's followed my work, like with Pinnacle, I did a lot for the second edition of Risk for Savage Worlds. I did a lot of like redesigning, you know, big stuff, and so I enjoy that kind of stuff. But you got to know when to, you know, it'd be tempting to go just change everything for fun and see how it works. But yeah, I try to avoid that. So
yeah, one of those red, black, and white, beautiful books on the market.
you love the black, white, and red.
Yes, I want
Yeah.
to see that right now.
Thank you. Yeah.
So I think a lot of people couldn't envision it during the Kickstarter, and I'm like, when they see these books.
Yes. Well, that was the thing.
Can't
We were
take my
like,
eyes off them.
yeah, they're great, and we were worried because we're like, is it really going to connect with all the fans? Right? We know we connect with some for sure, but actually that's why originally the retail price point was going to be $5 higher because we're like, are we going to be able to cover the cost of the print run? And now it's been so popular with the crowdfunder and
So
the pre-orders.
there is a plan for a release date of that style?
Oh, it's coming out at the same time.
At the same time.
So all the stuff will be hitting
Yeah,
our
everything is
distributors and our
hitting
web
the
store
table,
at the same time. So we'll ship to backers, and then everything that's left will be shipped to our warehouse, and it'll start going out through our web store and our distributors.
Which you can pre-order right now.
And you can pre-order right now, and if you guys want, we have some forms up here, certainly.
Is there any planning to have like adventure paths that take in some of the modern stories like Mutant Town and The Last Ronin and stuff like that?
So we don't, right now, we're not talking about anything further in the future. All that's gotta be negotiated. So right now, everything we're doing right now is focused on early Mirage. So we do have like some new characters like Karai and things like that, but it's all from that original period. But yeah, I mean, we did put, I put a lot of elbow grease, Kevin read through it and everything, for the Turtles Go Hollywood and all the other Adventure Material books. So it should be like really slick and have that modern feel. Like, I hope when you read it, you're like, this is what I remember, right? But without the edges and the weird stuff that maybe you forgot about, right? So it should, hopefully it's just real smooth and fun to run. But
Yeah, and in the case of like The Last Ronin, that was so hugely popular, they now consider it a separate license.
yes,
There's a video game in development, they're talking about, I think, an animated series.
so those are, it's a different IP, so
Right.
really.
Yeah,
So it's still owned by Paramount, but
but you know, with the success of this, you know, it opens up all these doors.
Yeah.
So, you know, 5 years from now, will you see Last Ronin RPG from Palladium Books? Maybe.
yeah, who knows? So, but it's opening a lot of doors for sure. I think you were first.
Are the Terror Bears in the book?
Oh, Terror Bears are in the
Oh, thank
book,
God.
absolutely. And they're in both, they're in both books because they're also in TMNT Adventures. There's a great Terror Bear adventure there as well.
Yeah.
So you can introduce them to your characters and then have them, you know, nearly cause doomsday in the other books.
Do you feel like The Last Ronin took a lot of its inspiration from the After the Bomb tie-in comics?
It's hard to say, but they're not going to admit that if they did.
There are definitely a lot of similarities in concepts.
But yeah, it's a great, if you guys haven't read The Last Ronin, buy it. I buy like 3 graphic novel, the collection and graphic novel hardcover for me, give them out for Christmas every year. It's just a freaking great art.
And
it's
it's
low
great.
rate.
Last 12 episodes, those were definitely.
Yes, and then Zero and Yelly told us that. They were definitely inspired by the After the Bomb. And so After the Bomb, I mean, so, you know, Eastman and Laird and all the Mirage guys, I mean, they did art for After the Bomb, right? They did comics in After the Bomb, so they know what it is, right? But you can't copyright post-popular, right? So, but it's great that they're having fun with it. I like to see the echoes. There's a lot of echoes of the characters from the role-playing game in a lot of Turtles media because the RPG was shockingly influential. Like, I just, the more we talk to these artists, we're just like, wow, they were really influenced by it. And so there's a lot of characters. It was funny when we were doing, we had, what's the, Caesar, the Weasel?
Oh, yeah.
And then there's, what is it, the character in the IDW comics that's very similar.
Oh, yeah.
What's his name?
So,
So,
Sophie Campbell incorporated the 3 little weasels in her idea, in her mind, that was a tribute to this.
yes, and then
If you
there
look at
was,
some of the Sophie Campbell comics from IDW, there's like posters in the background for a rock band called After the Bomb. It's pretty neat.
but it was funny, Old Scratch,
Something.
Old Hob, that's it, I couldn't remember. So yeah, Old Hob looks a lot like Caesar from, you know, the Weasel, or the Wolverine. And so it was funny because we had to make sure that we carefully told the artist to depict them in a certain way
Yep.
and make sure it was really accurate to the original depictions of Caesar. And so it differentiated it from other pin-up tribute art in the same book, you know, that has Old Hob. So that was very interesting.
Yeah. And it was wild to see how much, I mean, let's face it, Eric Woodchick wrote the original game, and he just knocked it out of the park. I mean, it's just astonishing. And Eric was a game design genius. Love that guy. And, you know, so, but we never realized how influential the Turtles had been. We're talking all these, like the introduction in the RPG is by Russell Marshall Thurber, who's a writer-director. He did Dodgeball and Word of Millers and and Skyscraper,
And now Red Notice.
and Red Notice, which was the most watched original movie on Netflix of all time.
Yep.
It's like, holy crap. And, you know, his thing was, yeah, I started with Turtles, went down to Heroes Unlimited and Ninja the Super Spice, then it was Riffs, Kevin. And it's because of your games, because I know Ross, and it's like because of your games, I'm a writer-director, and it's like, holy shit.
No, it's cool. It's super cool. One last question, anybody?
I have a question. You can take the fifth on this if you like. I heard scuttlebutt that you were approached about the Turtles licensed in the 10s. And I don't know if you can talk about that at all.
And,
2010?
oh yeah, somewhere's around
And
that.
what changed between then and now?
Well, so there's different divisions, you know, you're talking big company, Paramount, Viacom is actually the owner of Paramount.
Paramount bought Nickelodeon. Yeah.
And, you know, so at that time, they wanted like a big, they're like, it's not like we want $1 million guarantee, but it was clear they wanted like a few $100,000 that we didn't have at the time. And then they also wanted us to make big commitments. They wanted to have a whole outline and at least 2-3 supplements out every year. And we couldn't, you know, contractually, we couldn't miss a deadline. And let's face it, I'm not oblivious to the fact that we always miss our deadlines.
Often that's changing.
And you know, so I didn't feel like we could deliver at that time. And then also they didn't want us to Kickstarter it. And I'm like, it's gotta be a must. And Kickstarter was new to them back then, and they're like, no, absolutely no Kickstarter. And I'm like, well, it's a problem. So, and they reached out to us. I mean, so I already knew then that they were big fans of the original RPG, which is neat. And so we, you know, I didn't slam the door shut. I kept the windows open and the door ajar, and I said, let's address this down the road.
Yep.
And, you know, we thought about it a few years later with Joe Manganiello, because he's a big fan. And we talked about possibly doing some stuff with Joe. And then that didn't pan out. And then fate, you know, Sean came on board and said, let's reach out to them again. And like Sean said at the beginning, it's like we were like, yeah, let's reach out. And I reached out to my contacts from 2010 or 12, whatever it was. And it was like, oh, they're gone. They're all gone. Now what do we do? Because I don't know anyone there. And
We made it happen. It's good.
Yeah, we tracked it down and it worked out fantastic.
Well, thanks for coming by. We have
Hi guys, meet the Nibbles, who's gonna go down. She just decided not to go down my back, so we'll do this for her so she's comfy. Thanks for watching my video, and I appreciate it. Please hit the like button and share it if you know somebody who might be interested. And of course, there's always Twitter and the Facebook thingy, and soon I have a newsletter coming. That'll be down there or in a link below, and my kitty cat loves that idea. So anyway, there was one more thing. Oh yeah, subscribe. Be a part of my community, our community. Let's make it grow together. See you guys at a con somewhere, or a local store, or if I'm driving through the country, maybe a game club. I don't know. You're not gonna go knock down my camera. Bye guys.